Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. Oh, you lucky people, because you are here on one of the highlights of any month/6 week run, because you have joined us as we flash back in time to the 1930s, a time of fine wines, a time of political upheaval, and a time of two very well-dressed men, which we'll go into in a bit, and some scruffy French oik who's following them around this time around. But before we get there, thank you so much all. If you were considering, if you were thinking it to be Traveller tonight, understandable. I can hear someone echoing, by the way. I don't know who I can hear my voice coming back from. But yes, if you're expecting Traveller, my hearty apologies. I hope you can put up with this instead. I promise you there's a really good reason to stay for this stream. And he's sitting in the bottom left-hand corner. Other things. Oh, yes. So if it's your first time, you're very welcome to chat or to lurk. Both are equally fine. We normally run this one's normally about 2.5. It'll probably be about 2.5-ish hours, maybe 3, 2.5, 3, that sort of time. I always run over, and I always forget that people need wheeze. But we get there in the I don't get too carried away. But we'll have a break at some point too. Normally when John's cat starts attacking him and wants wants a bit of attention. That's when we know it's break time. What else? Oh yes, so there's a red sun there which you can click on. You can use it to spend some points. There's a whole range of things. My favourite one is when we need to celebrate Rudi's unbeaten record. Of course, we can just click that.
I am invincible.
And
Where is it?
It says, I am invincible. It says, celebrate Rudi's unbeaten record. It's sort of that reddish pinky one. So we'd like to celebrate that.
A new one.
There
I am invincible.
So there's lots of things
Love
you can spend points. Have a look through, everyone, if you want. There's you can name an NPC for me if you want. You can make Ben pose. We can stand for Ewan. You can just do a whole range of things. Have a little look around. See what you like the look of. And have a go if you wish. I think that's all the housekeeping, really. It's quite short housekeeping tonight. I'll introduce myself, then I'll go around the players. I'm going to say that in a Shakespearean way, the players for tonight. And then we'll get started. So my name is Luke. Hello, I am the Dreamer of Dreams. And I haven't come up with a name for what the GM is in this. But the Git. We'll call it the Git. I'm the Git.
Butler.
The butler. And I'm here tonight to tell a tale for you, which hopefully these three will take and make a billion times better, which they always do, quite frankly. The Gitmaster, I am the Gitmaster General. Let's work clockwise round from me. Speaking of Gits, he is the housewife's favourite. He is my brother from another mother. And he is a wonderful, wonderful man. And his name is Ewan. Good evening, Ewan. How are you?
Oh, good evening, Luke. You're too kind. Thanks. I'm very well. I'm very well.
That is good. So you were out again last night, Ewan. You live like a social whirl, your life.
It's been it comes in waves and peaks and troughs. Yeah. So 2 nights this week and none for probably 6 more months.
Well, I'm glad that you had a nice night out. Why don't you tell us who you're playing in this wonderful tale?
Indeed, I play Gaston Delarue, a Frenchman, in case for anybody who didn't realise, who has previous with Tony and Rudi, but not quite as an in-depth beloved friendship as they have with each other. But he is met up with them and is very excited to take some notes on their previous exploits.
He seems charming so far. I don't know if the other two trust him yet, but he seems okay. He's probably got a big dark secret somewhere.
I mean, I think he's okay.
Yeah, yeah, sounds okay. I mean, obviously he's French, so you have to take that into account.
He uses antlers in all of his decorating, so I hear. But, other than that,
I've heard he goes to zoos and strangles pandas. That's going to come out later, doesn't it?
It's not canon.
If I say it is canon.
Fair, everybody's got unusual hobbies if you really dig down into it.
It's why I'm a Git master.
That is true.
Continuing around, the first of our long-term duo, the two close friends. But the man in the red curtain is a man that we all know and we all love. He's the smartest man in any room, only rivaled when John turns up. He lives his entire life in the Twin Peaks dream sequence, of course. Every night he heads out with a black turtleneck, delivering chocolates to women around the country, and back in time again for breakfast. He is, of course, the sensational Ben. Good evening, Ben, and how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Yes, very much looking forward to this. There are some of those moments through, as you say, our sort of periodic cycles that we do with these games that you just look forward to from weeks and weeks out, and this is one of those.
Good. And there's a good reason for you to look forward to it, because you play a very memorable and wonderful character. Even more wonderful
I am
than
rather
yourself,
fond of
I would
him.
say. Yeah, tell us about him.
I play a chap called Tony Guerrero. He is an Italian trying desperately not to set foot back in Italy if possible, because he's a little bit worried at this time that he might be called up to serve in Mussolini's army. And he's still a relatively young man, you see. He is by nature an academic and very much a gourmand. He enjoys his food, he enjoys his drink, and especially he enjoys his trousers.
Oh, don't make me feel bad about it. I'm just going to make it worse. See, here's a man who is down a pair of trousers already this week, which is very disappointing. But he's doing his best, and he's doing his best with a long-term friend and confidant, a man who he's shared many, many, many adventures with, on screen and off screen, no doubt. I don't like to pry about what they get up to in their spare time. It is the Greek dream himself, our own personal Adonis. Adonis was Greek, wasn't he?
Yes,
there we go.
That's Greek.
He's a mix between Adonis and all the Greek philosophers you could ever hope to come from. He is John. Good evening, good morning, John, and how are you?
I always love your intros, Luke. Hi, everyone. I'm John from Legitimate Games. I would like to plug in that I am the composer of Metanthrope's role-playing game, but tonight, what is important for you, dear viewers, is that I will be playing Rudi Otto. Rudi Otto is a German-born man who has traveled all his youth in a caravan, so he's more like a citizen of the world, but more than anything else, who he might be in his mid-50s by now, but he can out-wrestle and out-box any man in his 20s because he was an undefeated pro boxer with a record of 9-0. I know that his fans say it's 11-0, but the official record, I have to remind, it's 9-0. And after deciding, because he was fighting in the heavyweight division, he's a rather huge man with broad shoulders and a thick mustache, but nowadays we see a different version of Rudi Otto, because after his 20s, he decided to join the world of academia. He began studying the fine arts and history, especially history, and from Rome to Byzantium to Napoleon, everything that's history-wise he learned, and his teaching, his pursuit of knowledge has led to meet with Tony Guerrero and create this dynamic duo of between the two. But as of late, after his voyages on the train and the ship and the burn and all the adventures he has been together, they discovered this bracelet of Mary Magdalene, which actually held supernatural powers. And after that experience, and of course all the people dying, his his close vicinity, he decided to study the occult. And although he was a huge fella, he started to lose weight, and his beard started to grow, and also his sight began to darken a bit. And he now has spent his last days isolated, studying the occult. And yeah, that's the darkest version of Rudi that we have yet encountered. I realized by now that has been a pretty long intro for my character, but I'm very excited to play my character. So there you go, darkest version of Rudi. I'm ready. Let's go.
Oh, but are the rest? Is the rest of Moritz ready for the darkest version of Rudi? That's what we need to know. So
I will say he's a character worthy of a long intro.
he's
He is. Very memorable chap.
Oh, fantastic. Right. So let's begin for this evening. I suppose I better run through what's happened, why they're here, what's going on, and then we shall get started. So, our dear friends Tony and Rudi arrived in St. Moritz this winter time in December of 1937 to take part in an academic symposium at the Carlton Hotel here in the beautiful mountainside resort in Switzerland. I'll put the symposium list up. There they are. While the symposium itself is taking place in the wonderful and historic Carlton Hotel, our friends were unable to book in to the hotel as it was already full of hundreds of other delegates. And so they booked into the small but very, very pretty, it must be said, Le Petit Grand Hotel. They were cursing their luck a little bit at missing out. And they cursed their luck a little bit more when they found that they were sharing a room with one double bed. But they've made the best of it, and the nights have been cold, so a little bit of close friendship certainly helps you through those cold times. They will get a new twin room, but from Saturday night, and we've not reached that stage yet, for it is Friday. And Rudi Otto and Tony Guerrero has just returned from their great and triumphant presentation at the symposium. After their full day, they've returned to the Carlton Hotel to eat and drink and relax before the next day. However, they were joined by a friend of theirs, a one Gaston Delarue, a man who, not a reporter by trade, has been asked by Sassoir to head over and to report on and write a story about our heroes, who are very well known by this stage for having found the bracelet of Mary Magdalene, although that is mysteriously lost again, and who prevented absolute carnage on a very famous train that had been taken over by some cultists. Men in demand indeed. In fact, on that Friday, after their presentation, they'd spent a good few hours answering questions, batting some back, and really getting into others. Rudi Otto, on a few occasions, taking a friendly question from a viewer and going very dark, turning it all into occultish answers, surprising some of the people there to watch them. But with all their hard work done, they returned back to Le Petit Grand. And that's where we joined them at the start of last time. With our three heroes. I'm going to call Gaston a hero if people are okay with that. I don't know if he's earned it. I don't know if he's earned it, but two heroes and
I'm not sure I am.
Our two heroes and hanger-on gathered with, if you look in the top left-hand corner, all these other guests in the dining hall, along with some people that have come to dine for the evening and make the most. It's a lovely little hotel a bit further down on the edge of town. Famous for an outside bar, which is a delight. They keep your coat, you put the coat on, you head out and you sit and you can drink and eat with the mountains behind you. Which is what our heroes did. They took their dinner, soup, cold, their warm dinner turning quickly cold at the outside bar, while everyone else was warm inside. But they returned inside just in time for a show of the highest quality from the great Bowman. The great Bowman, a magician and mentalist who had performed the night before when our hero and hanger-on were out dining elsewhere. But he put on a fine display of mentalism, hypnotizing 3 guests. Firstly, hypnotizing Dr. Peter de Groot, a believer, into being able to sniff out evil. And lo and behold, a wallet was found. Magical, and the wrongdoers cast out of the hotel. Next up, Nancy Durand, new wife of Jean Durand, known to our heroes from their time on the SS Can. She was hypnotized into laughing non-stop, which has driven everyone, quite frankly, insane in the sort of the 20 or so minutes since that happened. And finally, young Gaston de la Rue accepting being hypnotized and being hypnotized to warm up at, was it 1 degree every 5 minutes, Gaston?
I believe it was something along those lines, yes.
Hypnotized that he would warm up 1 degree every 5 minutes, and he has been waggling his collar a bit, removing not all his layers, unfortunately, but you never know how the evening's going to go, dear viewers. Hang around for that. Unfortunately, Rudi and Tony are very cynical of the great Bowman. They don't believe that he is a true powerful man. They believe he might be a bit of a shyster, a bit of a faker. And so while Tony went to try and find out and sort of get under his skin, Rudi headed over to the Durand's table to chat with them, catch up a bit with John, and sort of pry into Nancy to see if she truly was hypnotized. But as she carried on laughing and laughing and laughing, it seemed that perhaps she was. Until a moment where on their way back over, Tony and Gaston, seeing their friend Rudi over at the Durands, making their way across, and unfortunately for Tony, crashing into dear old waiter Philippe, beloved, lovely, charming, helpful Philippe. Unfortunately spilling wine all over Tony's second best pair of trousers. And in that moment of shock, sudden surprise, supposedly hypnotized Nancy Durand had suddenly stopped laughing. And that is where we ended last time, and that is where we shall begin again this evening. With Rudi, Jean and Nancy all sat around a table in that bottom left hand of where it says dining hall. And Gaston and Tony stood with Tony's sopping wet, reddened trousers. And now, my friends, over to the 3 of you.
I'm going to look at Philippe and say, I feel I owe you an apology, but I need to go and change now.
Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Sorry. It's me that should apologise. I'm sorry, even though it's your fault. Sorry, sir. Sorry. And he sort of starts patting at your groin and your thighs with a towel. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, sir. Please don't hold it against me, sir. I'm sorry.
Enough. This happens to me more than you can possibly imagine, and in ways that, frankly, would blow your mind.
Young men patting you down, sir.
That too. It is for this reason that I brought no fewer than 6 pairs of trousers to this hotel. 2 of them are currently lodged in your hotel safe.
Good planning, sir.
However, I must retire to my room to change, and I will give him a sort of reassuring smile that I don't really hold it against him, because it's now becoming so routine that I'm convinced my trousers are cursed. I shall walk out, and as I do, am I going to? If I walk out through the west exit to that dining hall,
down into the main corridor, which heads out to the reception and front door. Yep.
Indeed. Am I going to walk past Rudi as I do that?
No, Rudi is in that bottom left where the dining hall overlooks the outside bar.
Okay, well then I will divert to go past him.
Okay.
He's seen far more gruesome sights than a pair of wine-soaked trousers. He is made of strong stuff. He'll cope. So I will walk past him, and as I do, I will lean in and whisper to him the secret information that I was imparted by Gaston, which was in its nature that our charlatan performer is more of a charlatan than
I've
might have
completely
even been
lost Ben.
believed. He is
Is it just me?
he is bribing people to go along with his trick.
Oh. Then you might already find Rudi in somewhat a positive state. He's by the time I suppose you enter the dining hall, he's like, "Waiter, why don't you bring me another snaps or whatever it was he was drinking? I don't remember right now, because in his mind he's convinced that the great Bauman is indeed a charlatan because the laughter stopped and not the rules have not yet applied. So by the time that Johnny joins in and tells him this information, he bursts into a laughter, like a thunderous laughter that maybe will shake up the entire area. Well, I must say, my dear Rooney, my dear Tony, I'm not surprised.
While that's being said, Jean is looking very hard at Nancy, and with a bit of confusion in his face, and she sort of puts her hand over her mouth, and then tries to forcibly start herself laughing again, but it's sounding very forced at this point. Hoping that no one's really noticed.
Yes. Well, then I shall. As soon as I've imparted this information, I will give a little conspiratorial nod to Rudi, and then make my way out through that door to the west into the corridor towards reception. And as soon as I'm out into the corridor, I will head upstairs, please.
Okie dokie. I'm just going to reconnect because I think that'll bring John back. Nope, it hasn't brought John back. Okay. So you go through the corridor. What you notice is there's a whole, as you go out on your right-hand side, there's a whole row of big coats. Everyone's coats are sort of stashed there opposite the outside bar. You've got a big, slightly moth-eaten bear. Fortunately, a stuffed bear, not a live one. Alongside there. And because it is Switzerland, of course, it would be wrong not to have a rather grand clock on the wall as well. A beautiful, quite ornate clock. You go past those. There's people coming and going a bit through to the outside bar, being sort of helped into their coats. And you head up, and you are upstairs. So you will head. Are you upstairs or are you downstairs? Hang on. You are upstairs.
I'm upstairs in room number 1.
Yeah. So you head up the stairs, which go up at the end of the corridor, past number 5, up past the toilet and the bathroom. That corridor is empty, as you can see it right now. So it's just you up there. It's more the same. It's sort of the wood here is darker, and it's slightly less pretty and grand than it was downstairs, because they tried to make downstairs extra special for sort of the meal guests. Still nice, but noticeably a little bit shabby around the edges. Your room is the first bedroom you go to, and the door looks closed.
Excellent. I shall open the door and sweep inside, saying, "Aha!" No, I won't. I shall go inside and find my luggage.
Okie dokie. So in your room, you've got the. If we look at it as the way it is, okay. So on the map, so your bed, the double bed, the head is facing like the headboard is against the wall between you and number 2. It's
Okay.
quite nice that they haven't put your headboard right next to where the bathroom is. That's a little bit of favour at least. You've got a nice window actually to the top. That's the only place a window could be in that room. It's overlooking back into town, but it's quite pretty. That said, it's quite a nice view. You have a wardrobe to the left by the bathroom wall, and you've got a chest of drawers and sort of a writing table with a mirror and a chair. You've been here for, of course, a couple of days because you got here early. Have you? And I'll need to ask Rudi about this as well. But Tony, how have you been about the state of unpacking? How have you been about laying things out and such like?
Well, we arrived on Thursday night, didn't we?
Wednesday arrived the night before Wednesday night because Thursday was the symposium. Might even be before that. Bear with me. You definitely you arrived early. It was Gaston that was rushing.
Right,
yeah, you
okay.
arrived afternoon of Wednesday.
Excellent. Well, then in that case, I will have unpacked everything that needs to be hung, and they will be in the wardrobe, and anything that can be unpacked and placed in the chest of drawers will be there.
Okay. How about you, Rudi? How have you sort of laid out your clothes and belongings and things like that?
Rudy's spending like his most rowdy years or times, so he would have dropped his case on the bed and just pick up the first clothes and the top of his bag and then left the room. So nothing more.
Okay. So Tony, you do have to, as you go in, it's dark. If you're happy to, you're welcome to turn the light on if you wish. It's evening, of course. So
I will turn the light on, please. Yes.
okay. Could you roll for me? What should make you roll? I'm going to make you roll an education check. So for those of you watching, we're using the rule set of Those Dark Places, which is normally used for sci-fi horror, and we're using it for 1930 gentleman archaeologist types. So they have 4 stats, main stats: charisma, agility, strength, and education. And that's what we check against. Generally, for just a check like this, they roll 1d6 and add their ability, which will be 1, 2, 3, or 4. And they're trying to hit 8 for perfect. 8 and above is good. 7, there's some downsides. Anything below that is sort of a failure for what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Tony.
I assume I can't have any bonuses for this based on skills.
No, unless you're trying to do it in a very daring do kind of way, turning on the light and looking around.
Stick your finger in a plug socket whilst you do it.
And do a roll across.
Okay. That is, you say education?
Yes, please.
That's a total of 6.
Okie dokie. With the light on and everything, it looks like you've left it from what you can tell. You haven't memorized how it was. With Rudi's case sort of just dumped on the floor, a few things strewn around. Clearly, yeah, looking like he's back in his college days.
Yeah.
Your bag nicely stowed in the corner, everything out. What you'll expect is hanging up where it needs to be hanging up, things away, everything folded up nicely, and the room appears as you left it.
Okay. Then I shall go to the wardrobe, please.
Mm-hmm.
And I shall, believe it or not, I have to look now at this. It's very important that I look at this. I'm going to retrieve my 4th best pair of trousers.
Okay. Oh. Very brave. You've still got some days of symposium left.
Yes.
Yep.
And I will change my trousers. The logistics of trousers. You would not believe the notes I have on my 6 pairs of trousers. They are exhaustive. So I will change my trousers for my 4th best pair, and take, and then once I'm satisfied, I shall step a couple of doors next door to the toilet and avail myself of that, and then return briefly to the room to collect the wine-soaked trousers, and I will carry them back downstairs and deliver them to reception for cleaning, please.
Okay, could you please roll an agility, please, for when you're in the toilet? Not because I'm guessing you're going to wash your hands.
I am.
Okay, please roll agility.
Okay.
Oh, no.
This could be very bad.
I see where this is going. Yeah.
This is the worst way to break your leg at a skiing resort, I tell you. That's a 4 total.
Okay. As you wash your hands, the tap comes on a bit stronger than you expected, and you get a bit of a spray back onto your freshly worn trousers. It's not ridiculous. It doesn't look like you've wet yourself, but it looks a little bit. What colour were these trousers, Ben? Describe the trousers.
Well, these would be because they aren't the sort of ones that were just ruined, which were sort of cream tan in colour. These ones would be sort of charcoal grey, so they probably aren't too bad.
Good. Well, you notice it in a moment of ugh, but maybe others won't. Maybe you've got away with it.
I think then, instead of worrying too much about that, I shall do as gentlemen have done for a very long time and take a short constitutional on the way down. I shall drop off the ruined trousers at the reception, and then instead of returning to the dining hall, I shall take a quick step outside into the bar and take the fresh air for a few moments while the trousers have the opportunity to dry.
That's a freeze in this temperature. Reception are happy to take trousers. They're very apologetic, of course, and promise you that they will get them laundered first thing in the morning, and they're hoping that they'll be back in your room in time for tomorrow evening, Saturday evening, if you need them then.
Excellent.
You were offered a coat, of course, as you went outside. That's totally up to you whether you do or not. That's not important right now. But you will not.
Yeah, I will take a coat. As you rightly say, it is snow-covered St. Moritz.
And the snow it started snowing when you were out there earlier. It's really starting to come down now. The flakes have got to that really big size that sort of they're landing on people's eyes as they're sort of chatting, on their eyelids and in their beards. They're very visible flakes. It's very, very pretty, but the snow is quite heavy now.
I shall take a few moments to smoke a cigarette while I'm outside. Enjoy the scene, even though it is a bit chilly. But I'm only going to be there for a few minutes. I don't need to worry too much about the temperature. And then when I'm completed, when I finish with my cigarette, I shall return to the dining hall.
Okay, so Rudi and Gaston, as Tony is doing his trouser business. Rudi, you're at the corner with the Durons, and Gaston, I'm guessing, is nearby, having made it across without crashing into anyone.
Before he parts ways with Philip, he'll reassure him a little bit. Do not worry, my good man. It's not your fault. But tell me if you would, this fine coat you lent me. Where might I be able to purchase such a fine garment for myself?
Sir, there's a fine tailors and coat maker down in town. It's a wonderful place. In fact, it's my uncle, sir. Just tell them that that Philippe sent you, and he'll be able to sort you out a little bit more of a special treat, maybe than he would otherwise.
Very, very, very generous of you, Philippe. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I shall do so.
It's his shop is called Monsieur Coates. That's why he became a coat maker.
Shirtcoats. It's
But it's Coates.
yes, yes, Philip. I know how to spell coats. I may be French, but I can spell it in English as well as French. Thank you. But sincerely, thank you, and thank you for the loaner. I won't forget at the end of the night, and he'll make his way over to Rudy's table.
Rudy, once he has received the news from Tony, the news he could kind of already assume himself, he makes a notion like that to Gaston and says, let's have a laugh with Miss Nancy.
Mm-hmm.
But he tells like a kind of in a low tone, but not that low. Maybe a few words can be heard. And then he turns to Nancy, who I presume is still on his table. I think he sat with her last session or something.
Yes.
So he takes half sympathetic, half ironic look when he looks at her and says, "Oh, my dear Nancy, you must be very turmoiled and distressed by having witchcraft applied to you. How are you feeling now?" A bit of a drag there, dear Nancy. You're not going to be winning any awards. Maybe keep it down a notch.
Jean sort of he's leant forward between the two of you and he sort of put his arm around Nancy, and he's starting to look a bit uncertain about the whole situation too. Rudi, could you please roll a charisma, please?
I was trying to say if I want to like sense if Jean is part of the trick or not. I have rolled a 3, and I still have a 3 charisma, although it has been diminished a bit. So it's a total of 6. Not yet. Not a success. Yeah. But I tried my best.
You can't tell for sure what the vibe that Jean is giving out is that he's not part of it, but that's kind of the vibe you're getting anyway. So
because he's the only confirmed actor by occupation from the group, right? Mm-hmm. So I can easily assume that he is part of this trick. So I will say, "Oh, my dear Jean, I've never seen you so worried before. Is it? Please do tell me how do you feel right now with having your fiancé being overwhelmed by sorcery of sorts?"
He said, "Well, it's difficult because like between you and me," he sort of looks at you and sideways at Gaston, he's not met him before, so he's trying to like judge if he's trustworthy.
I make a notion if it tells anything, and I do like.
Oh yeah. Between you and me, I thought, and his voice goes down. I've always thought the Great Bowman's a fraud. So this is difficult for me right now.
But now you have all the clues to say otherwise, right?
I know that's hard. I hope he comes and stops us soon, though, because this is very frustrating to me. I think I'll be looking for another room to sleep in tonight if this is how it keeps going. And Nancy looks even more stressed and annoyed.
That sounds painful for you and for us as well. So please, dear, keep it down a notch. But John, after all we've been through in that bloody and lethal cruise together, actually, before I continue my sentence, can I roll once again to make sure, like, now have more info if he's into the trick or not? because I think Rudi think he is, but I, as John, I'm not entirely sure. Can I roll?
Okay, well, I'll let you do this time then. I will let you roll it. What I'll also do is, because it's trickery and mentalism, I'll let you get your +1 for the occult in there as well. How
Yes,
about that?
I would like to add my occult. If I
Okay,
may.
well, let's do that then. That sounds like a
Oh,
deal to
it's
me.
a 5 and 1 for the occult and 3 for charisma. That's a total of 9.
Mm.
I think I got it right.
You're pretty certain that,
Mhm.
well, you're pretty certain of two things. One, Nancy's faking it, and two, Jean
Obviously,
is
yeah.
and two, Jean is not in on it and is starting to look as annoyed as you.
Okay. Then I will continue Rudy's sentence and saying, after all we've been through, Jean, I'm terribly sorry to see you once again fall for the wrong woman. You have
Oh, that is
poor,
very
poor
good.
taste when it comes to picking the right spouse for you, my friend.
Instantly, Nancy stops laughing and stares absolute daggers at you, Rudy.
I can take it. Rudy can take it. All the daggers.
And under her breath, she hisses at you, "How dare you, Mr. Otto?
Mm,
How
mm.
dare you?" And then she quickly checks if anyone's been noticing, and she says, "Jean, I'm going to the room." And she stands up and she's like, "Ha ha 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 ha," and storms off out of the dining hall.
Please. You can leave if you want, but please spare us of your mediocre acting.
Jean sort of half protests and
Good riddance
half
to
gets up
her.
to
I
go,
say
and then
to
sits down.
Gaston and Jean as well, and I propose to, make a toast and drink together, the three of us. Good riddance to her.
Gaston has been jotting down notes in his little pad about the masterful trickery and superior intellect of Rudi. Once again, outsmarts another fraudster and pops it back in his pocket. Picks up a glass somewhere.
Yes.
His glass.
Come on, John, join us. I've spared you some bitter discovery in the future.
Jean sort of looks at
You
you for a
seem
while.
confused. You seem confused. Understandably so, but please believe me when I say that Nancy, how can I rather simply put it, she was faking it, my friend. There was no sorcery really involved with this.
I had my doubts. I had my doubts, Mr. Otto. I had my doubts, but why would she go along with it? It makes no sense for someone just to go along with it for no reason. In fact,
Let's say that a little bird called Tony told me that there was some financing issues involved. Money, to be sure.
Money. He leans over to Gaston. He doesn't really know your name so much. I think the great Bowman asked it, so he'd only sort of got on here from there, but he doesn't know you too well. And he's like, quietly, "How about you, sir? Were you paid off to perform, sir?"
Well, Gaston laughs. I was certainly offered. And he looks around a little bit and lowers his voice, leans in. 100 Swiss francs
100
to go along with what he says, but which is no mere sum. But sometimes, journalists such as myself, we're paid to tell the truth.
That's why you're with us at our side. Yeah, Gaston. But
That's what
you should have taken it either way. and still retain your value as a person. It was 103 marks for me.
The,
What are drinks? And now, of course, I have to pay for them. Where is Tony? Where is the waiter? Another snaps, please. Come on. The next snaps that you have to do to get a better service in this place.
It's just sort of waving around there as a waiter comes and hurries over to take your drinks orders and hurries back through to the kitchen to sort of gather what you need at this point. Jean stares at Gaston for a while, and as he's thinking of these 100 Swiss francs, he's like, and then he sort of half smiles, and he says, "I need to speak with my wife, but I also need to make sure she stops laughing." So he says, "If you'll excuse me, sirs," and he's.
Gaston will just say, "Dad, just in case you're in any doubt," and he'll turn to Rudi and say, "Rudi, I believe we had a bet. It turns out that the Great Barman is in fact a fraudster.
To be completely frank with you, just buy the next round of snaps. I don't need it. I'm so satisfied with discovering another fraud that I don't need anything from you. Where is Tony? I think Rudy's voice can be heard like
I very much get that impression.
when he's because he's actually yelling while drinking. Tony, where are you, my friend? Where is Tony? Tony, get me Tony. Something like that. We'll celebrate all three of us together.
In fact, Tony, it is at that time as you sort of decide to come in from the outside bar, is when Jean has stormed past you because he stands up, realizing that there might be money involved with his wife, and he stands up, making a big scene. He's a very good actor, of course. Just got to roll for him, and he looks incredibly good doing it, like everything you could ever imagine in a fine actor. He stands up and he says, "Thank you, gentlemen. Now, where is that great bowman? I need him to reverse his hypnotism on my wife so I can get some sleep tonight." And he sort of gets the people on his side. He's like, could you imagine sleeping with that all night? And he gets a bit of laughter from so-and-so. And then he sort of storms off. "Now, where is he? The great bowman?" And he storms out of the dining hall to the left, past the outside bar door, sort of leaving the door flapping, just as in a wind, just as Tony comes in.
Do I see him go past me?
You do, yes.
I shall smile and nod to him as he goes past, and say, I take it you have learnt the truth.
I have, but I feel the only way out of it is to ensure there's a visit from the great bowman to my bedroom tonight.
Okay. I'm sure you know what you're doing. Good evening, monsieur.
Good evening. The great bowman! Bowman, where are you? As he storms off.
So as he heads off yelling Bowman, and I can hear Rudi yelling Tony in the other direction. I walk in. I walk back into the dining hall to see Rudi there.
Oh, there you are, my old friend. Come on, we're celebrating that we actually won, the two of us, a bet against Gaston Leroux. And even though I know he just betted for the sake of argument, he will buy the next round of snaps and whatever else you shall be drinking tonight. Wait a moment. Have you changed your trousers again?
I mean, I have. This is my third pair worn today. I
What could be
removed
the
my
reason?
very best trousers after the presentation. Then wine was thrown over my second best pair of trousers. These are my fourth best.
Yes, I would rank them around there, but I think none of us are surprised at this moment.
It
I will
feels
say, yeah, go on.
it feels as if as we travel around Europe, there are some things that are fundamentally true. I will
Yes.
be always a little bit exhausted, always very slightly hungover, and always desperately in need of a clean pair of trousers.
It's like gravity or slinging a stone in the air. You know it will fall down, as you will know that the wine will be spilled at your trousers.
This does appear to be the case. Yes, it is. It is a tragedy due to its inevitability.
Ah, but now, my friends, now that John has left and it's just the three of us, I suppose by now the waiter, due to Rudy's obnoxiousness, have already brought his order, right? By now.
Oh, absolutely. The dining
Excellent.
hall, the dining hall right now is quite empty, so you would have you'd have any waiter's focus. We've hit that sort of time of the evening
Even
where
better.
where the
Even-
meals have been served, desserts have been served, the evening meal visitors have been offered outside to the outside bar as the waiting staff are trying to tidy up and clear things out. So it's only really now some of those staying over. So it's the three of you at your corner table. Then the Esposito brothers are still there. Julian Peters is still there, and Claire Spelling. The Durans have gone up to bed, as you know. Van Beek and de Groot have gone to the billiard room, and the
Good.
great Bauman, of course, has puffed off in a puff of smoke, whatever he does.
Well, for record's sake, whatever Rudy's will be saying from here now on will be extremely out loud, the very pompous and polarizing personality that he is. But he will serve both his companions. He will fill up their glasses and say a toast to the three of us together, joining forces once again, uncovering tricksters and unraveling mysteries. But then he takes a more serious note to his toast and says, giving speeches and presentations, but I feel in my very core that this is not the full reason that we are here gathered this day. Do you feel it too, my friends? And then he actually proposes to do the cling. Cling.
Very well. I will do the same, and I will say I would do that, and I will raise my glass to an additional thing. Yes, being together is wonderful. Yes, we had a very successful presentation today, and I think I loved that greatly. But there is one other thing I would like to add. Can we also raise a glass to the fact that schnapps, while not my very favorite drink, is largely colorless?
He takes a look from his glass up close. I do see a little bit of a drop of gray and a drop of white, but yes, I get what you're saying.
To
Snaps.
good friends
Snaps.
and fallen trousers.
My dear Gaston, I actually feel kind of you deserve a better story than this. You deserve a better story than Tony and Rudy uncovering the great mystery of the great Bauman. No. You should have seen us a couple of years earlier fighting, risking our lives, uncovering mysteries, occult brotherhoods and cults. where these years have gone, my dear Tony. Why are we not able to offer dear Gaston de la Rue a better story to write in his articles? I wonder.
You know, you're right, I think. There must be something in this most turbulent of time, in this most central part of Europe. There has to be something worthy of us. There must be some great game afoot, some enormous espionage, some horrific
Yes,
local tragedy.
yes.
We must perhaps go looking for one. Do you think if we were to set out from the hotel, we would find one? Or do you think we should fundamentally sit right here and drink until something occurs to us?
Both equally probable, but you need to understand that I truly be asking for is searching and finding more about the mysteries of the world, the occult, the law that is hidden from plain sight. Ever since our Mary Magdalene situation, I cannot sleep, frankly, Tony. I cannot rest knowing that everything we have been told about history could be a shade, a lie. The truths are really out there.
Well, then I do have a couple of questions that may set us on our path. The first is, why exactly do we feel that Nancy Durand would take the money? Does she need it for something? Is she hiding her lack of finances from her husband?
No, 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 my dear Tony. I don't think that is a mystery. That's what we should dwell towards. You know, it's the motive behind human greed is always, always not interesting.
Okay, then here is my second option, because
Yes, tell me about
Nancy and our friend Gaston here were not the only people hypnotized this evening.
Or indeed this weekend.
Or indeed this weekend.
or you should rather say bribe.
Okay, but I'm pretty sure that the great Bauman, or should we call him the lesser Bauman, the trivial Bauman, hypnotized Monsieur de Groot as well.
What about you?
But were you aware of what he hypnotized him to do?
Luke, can you remind me actually?
Yes, so Peter de Groot was hypnotized to seek out evil.
Now, let us assume that this was also
a pickpocketer, I think, something like that.
Yes,
The stolen wallet.
two wallets were stolen. One of the, let me just double check which one. It was one of the Esposito brothers. His was stolen. Stefano Esposito's wallet. Julian Peter's wallet was stolen, and the man was a man was uncovered by the Groot and sort of marched off as the person that's stolen.
Well, it is possible that the wallet thief was all part of the setup. But if de Groot is a believer, he may not have needed to be bribed. And if his senses are now turned full time to hunting out evil, and maybe he spotted something that we missed in all the confusion and the schnapps, it might be worth locating him and speaking with him to see if there was anything else that caught his eye.
That is a discussion that can take place elsewhere. However, you hear the clock cuckoo 10 times. It's 10 p.m. And as soon as it's done, you notice the manager enters the dining room, and he sort of bows to you both, and he says, "I'm sorry, sirs. It's Alexander Fricker, so Fricker on his name badge.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, sirs. We are closing the dining hall down to clean it and prepare it for breakfast tomorrow." He sees the glasses in your hands and how relaxed the three of you are. He says, "If you would like to move through to the snug, if you wish to continue drinking, the bar will be open there for another hour and a half. Oh, the billiard room, sirs. But the front of the hotel and the dining room is closing now."
Very well, we shall drag ourselves to the snug, or should I say, crawl. And Tony, Rudi makes he gets up, but he's obviously intoxicated because he remember he hasn't eaten anything. He's
That's true.
it's warm from earlier, so I think by this time he should be intoxicated, and he's all like celebrating and being reminiscent and nostalgic. He's kind of, already there. So he like whoop, takes the chair and makes a whoa whoa whoa. But he centers himself and says, "Okay, to the snug room. Follow me."
I will watch. I will watch as Rudi staggers off towards the snug, and as he does, I will turn to Mr. Fricker, to Herr Fricker.
Yeah.
And I will say, I'm a little disconcerted by your saying that the drinks will continue to be served in the snug for another hour and a half.
Yes, so that's our standard practice, especially at the weekend. So.
I have no problem with your standard practice. However, I feel that if you were to serve us right now with a fresh bottle of schnapps, then we could more or less leave it up to ourselves when we decided to finish our drinking.
Roll a charisma check for me, please.
Oh, God, really? That's not too bad. That's a total of 7.
7. Ah! Fricker looks at the wobbling Rudi staggering off, holding every single table and chair as he goes past, and then looks at you, Tony, and Gaston, and he says, "Very well, sir. I shall bring you a bottle and 3 new glasses into the snug, and that's fine. But that's I'm only bringing you 1 more bottle this evening. So if that is how you wish to go about drinking, of course, you can sort of take that with you, absolutely. But you really do need to leave the dining hall now, sir, please."
Of course. I will do so. I will take my time about it a little bit. Just make sure that as I'm in the process of leaving, there are in fact staff coming in to do what he said, to clean up and tidy up. Just to make sure they're not doing something else, like clearing away any paraphernalia that may have been left by Bauman or something like that.
I like it.
I think Rudy's far more intoxicated than Tony is because he's not checking up for this thing. He's just rushing to the snag, maybe tagging along a few chairs and come to his way, dropping them to the floor. And
In
maybe
fact,
if Gaston is as fast as he's following his tempo, he will, use his huge size and catch him like that and go, my dear Gaston, I'm so glad you have joined us and you are part of this. This duet has become like we're like a trident now. A trident gilded by Poseidon, but instead of water, we're drinking schnapps.
Rudi, I need you to roll an agility, please.
Agility.
Yes, please.
Okay, I've increased my agility from 1 to 2.
Yeah, that's true.
With a 6. With a 6, I evade every trap you have laid for me.
Well, no, because you're drunk, so it's a hard check.
Oh no!
But Gaston, could you roll an agility check for me as well, please? If you're willing to give Rudi an arm to lean on.
He will. He certainly will help him. He'll say, come on, come, Rudy, come. We have another bottle waiting, and that is a 6 as well. Plus a 4 is a
Fantastic.
10.
So
Whoa.
as Rudy staggers on, dragging the chairs behind, there is a moment where
We're gonna make it. You cannot stop us.
No, he half staggers into a table, and the table judders sideways, and on it, sat around it is Mrs. Claire Spelling, who quickly stands up as the table scatters past, looks at you a little. You know, it's not when someone's angry at you that it's bad. It's when someone looks at you and they're disappointed. She looks slightly disappointed at you, Rudy, and she says, "Enjoy the rest of your evening, gentlemen. Good night." And she slightly bows to the two of you and heads off. And as Rudy is,
Likewise, my dear.
and as Rudy's starting to slide out with the table sliding out behind him, you rolled well enough that you're not going to stack it, and Gaston rolled well enough that as the table is sliding out, Gaston does manage to catch you before you hit the floor, and you kind of style it out, kind of like you meant it.
Almost got embarrassed. Almost. Dodge a bullet.
Just as he said, almost got embarrassed. There's the small smash of a glass that hit the ground behind you.
The dice have protected us. I know you wanted us to fall and get embarrassed, but not.
You did
not
well.
today.
If you succeed, you succeed. Let's put it that way. Fantastic.
So
So,
yeah, Rudy's in a good mood. He doesn't really wait for Tony. He just grabs Gaston and he rushes into the snug. And maybe who is inside the snug once we enter the area?
So what I'll do is I'll work from the back to front. So Tony is indeed lurking in the dining hall. So Tony's seeing the two of you leaving, staggering off into the distance, knocking things over, but he's quite impressed at Gaston's sheer agility to keep you up. He'll see Claire Spelling leave, and he also sees Frick go over to the Espositos, who nod, and they head off in the other direction, not the snug way, about the front. They're not going there. And as Rudi and Gaston leave through the doors, you do see waiting staff are actually coming with brushes and brooms and things to start clearing up. Do you want to stay to see them do their whole job, Tony? Or
No, I wanted to make sure it wasn't Bauman coming back in to pick up any effect. Which table was he sitting at?
So I will try and make sure I get a closer plan of the dining hall for next time we play, of course, if we need it. But he was sat more to the top, where the dining hall is, to the top kind of middle sort of area.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's been sort of left alone from when he did his performance.
Then I shall just quickly peer underneath the tablecloth and onto the tops of any chairs that are tucked underneath. I just want to see if he left any paraphernalia, anything behind.
Sure, roll an education for me, please.
I can do this. Actually, I might be able to do this. My education is 4.
Mm.
Oh, look at that. That's a 10.
Oh.
You sort of lift up the tablecloth and sort of look around on the chairs and that, and there doesn't appear to be anything too much. There appears to be sort of what's probably like spilt sugar next to sort of there's a couple of mugs on there, and there's sort of some spilt sort of white sugary powder there, and there's sort of a wine ring sort of on the tablecloth, but
Right.
nothing.
But there isn't something like a schnapps glass underneath the table, for example.
No, not that you can see. No.
All right, fair enough. Then in that case, I will straighten myself up, and wander through to the snug.
As you sort of straighten yourself up, one of the waiters comes over to you, seeing you haven't lifted the tablecloth, going, no, sir, that's for us to do. Don't you worry about that. That's our job. You go through, sir. And you head through to catch up. Mr. Otto and Mr. De La Rue, as you enter into the snug, there is a tremendous fire. Down the far end, it is rather lovely. There is a bar along the left-hand wall, and then you have the two doors that open out to a balcony, I guess. Those doors are closed, but they're not locked because people might want to smoke on the balcony as well as indoors or whatever like that. Inside, the only person in there apart from someone tending bar is Julian Peters. The Espositos have vanished, of course.
Mm-hmm.
We know where the Durans probably are, and we know where Claire Spelling's gone to bed theoretically. So just Julian Peters in there, sat in one of those luxurious high back chairs, with like a brandy in his hand near the fire, and a cigar in hand, looking pleased with a nice day of education and eating.
Excellent. Are the other two finding a seat?
Up to you two.
Gaston will turn to Rudi and say, "Come, let's find a quiet table where we can discuss things."
No, my dear Gaston, you need to write your articles. There are times that you need to be on the sidelines, and there are times that you need to be in the center of attention. And I feel that tonight, one of these nights, so he will take the most better than the table that draws the most attention, whatever that table may be.
So of course there is a small table. It's mostly the high wingback chairs, but there are some small tables around, and there are a couple slap bang in the middle of the snug. Right
if I
there.
may add, if somebody else occupies that tables by the standards of Rudi at the moment, he will join them in their table without them asking. Like maybe he will ask, but it's like a very like a proliferator. How can I say? Like a very in the middle table who's already occupied. Because if so, Rudi will join that table.
Well, the only person in there is Julian Peters, who sat by the fire, but there is a chair there if you wish to join him. And that is right next to the fire, so it's very visible. And Julian Peters is there if you wish to sit with him.
By the way, who's Julian Peters? What do we know?
You don't know too much about him. He's media. He works for De Standard, a Belgian newspaper, which is a bit more right wing than a lot more right wing than the Ce Soir, which Gaston is working for.
Okay, before Rudi picks up a table, not just a chair, just a table, and plants it next to Julian at the fireplace. But before, he will whisper to Gaston, who he assumes already knows who Julian is because they're in the same area of expertise or whatever, same occupation, says, "You don't mind sitting with that Mr. Peters, don't you, Gaston?"
As long as they don't get the same story as me, I'm perfectly happy to entertain them.
Yeah,
your work is work, and my work is my work. But
we will keep it clean. Don't you worry. No blows under the belt that was used to say in boxing. And he really picks up a whole table and he plants it where it shouldn't be, like next to the fireplace. Maybe it's a bit crowded, but he grabs very, too much obnoxiously or to like like they're supposed to be close friends. Julian says, "Ah, Mr. Peters, you are honored, but you soon be joined by Rudi Otto, Tony Guerrero, and Gustav de la Rue."
Ah, Mr.
And he joined.
Mr. Otto, a pleasure, I'm sure. And he sort of motions to the other chair with his foot to sort of welcome you in. You've already taken it,
what-
but he's
yeah,
he's trying his best.
yeah. What is he drinking?
He's drinking like
Looks
a brandy.
nice.
He's drinking a brandy. He's classic, swill it a bit in his hand, brandy in one hand,
Brandy.
cigar in another, sat by the fire.
Okay, then instead of filling his drink, because we are drinking snaps, he will lighten up his cigar. Rudy will, like a token of. Okay, I know I have taken your place and your seat. I have prods in your face, but I will at least help you by, as a courtesy, lighten up your cigar for you with a.
Julian Peters leans forwards and starts puffing away at the smoke billowing out of it.
Yes,
Says,
off it well.
Merci, Mr. Otto, merci. Thank you so much. Quite an evening, eh? Quite an evening indeed.
Oh, I suppose you could call it that, but if you've been at the edge of gunshots and screaming and dying men left and right, this could seem like a very blasé evening instead. I suppose you haven't been to such situations, Mr. Peters, haven't you?
Well, Mr. Otto, I have travelled around much of Europe chasing news, and indeed, I'm here this week to officially report on the symposium. And I must say so myself. I believe I am the finest reporter for the finest paper here this week.
She looks at Gaston. This makes that sound.
In fact, Mr. Otto,
Gaston's got his notebook out.
in fact, Mr. Otto, if I could have the pleasure of having a full interview with you, perhaps tomorrow evening, to sort of as a fine piece for our paper, that would be wonderful.
My media obligations have already been taken by Mr. De La Rue over here. Have you two met? You should meet. You have more in common than you think. Tony, there you are. Is Tony coming?
Yeah, Tony's in.
Feels right by this point.
Yes, if that's the moment I come in, I shall walk over, survey the scene, and just give Rudi a little pat on the shoulder as I step outside onto the balcony briefly to look left and right and to catch a breath of fresh air.
Julian Peters looks at Gaston and says, "You, sir, do you wish to join us?"
Well, if I'm not intruding, it would be a pleasure. Thank you.
What did you say you did, Mr. Gaston? He said, Gustave?
Gaston de la Rue.
Gaston de la Rue. Mr. de la Rue, what is it that you do?
Well, currently I am also a journalist.
A journalist.
As yourself.
Splendid. You must write for a gentleman of your poise. Must write for a fine institution, no doubt. Who is it that you work for, sir?
Well, I do a lot of freelance work.
Ah,
You know how things often are.
Roll a charisma for me, please, Gaston.
Oh, thanks.
But have your plus chat of all trades. Have your plus 2 for chat of all trades.
Thanks. So 4 + 5 is 9.
Make
that what you will.
There is always room in our line of work for whole range of reporters, and whether it's freelance or centrally contracted. And I have a feeling that over the next 5 or 6 years, there might be a lot to report on. We could probably do with a lot of reporters. I just hope that you will always write from the correct angle, sir.
This sounds like you have some interesting insider information.
Well, anyone
Colleague to colleague, you wouldn't care to share.
I would rather not, sir. Not now. I barely know you, of course. But how about we, if we were maybe to sit down and share some notes sometime, maybe tomorrow over breakfast or over lunch, and sort of. I trust a man more who's willing to share their contacts with each other, if you know what I mean, and information. Information shared is a friend made, I always say.
Indeed, we'll keep an eye out for you at breakfast.
Splendid.
Gestures back towards the dining hall. But for now, raises his glass.
Yes. Another proper toast. I don't understand why Tony. Maybe he's after a case I'm not aware of, but as of now, you should be honored, Mr. Peters, that we are joined, and you should know one of your peers, Mr. Gaston de la Rue. Some say today's I don't know which these like 1930s for this most famous journalist, but he will mention them at this point. Like who could be? I really don't know who were back then the most famous journalists, but he will say, like he will imply that Gaston is up to the league of the most famous journalists of the time.
Oh, well, in which case, Mr. Delarue, I truly look forward to picking the brains of such a knowledgeable reporter. Now, please, if you'll excuse me, he sort of looks down at the end of his drink. If you'll excuse me, I need to be up early tomorrow to make a phone call to my newspaper. So I need to be up early. So please, if you'll excuse me, I must take your leave and head to bed. I have a long day tomorrow. Is there anything else, sirs, before I leave?
A bit of a disappointed that they're not drinking with us, but
Well,
yes, whatever be the case for you.
I give time to anyone I'm interested in, but I give extra time to friends, sirs, and I hope that by the end of tomorrow or the next day, we shall spend longer chatting and learning from each other. You seem like a fascinating man, Mr. Otto.
So, but to my experience, you may never know. This could be the very last time you see us. I would, by the way, Rudi is not making a threat right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, he looks at me, he shows up. Whoa.
Literally,
it's a fine line.
He's a big guy.
Of murders left and right, so he lives by the moment, as after his last adventure. So maybe he will take it as a threat. It wasn't meant as such, but he will say this line, yeah. It will be the last time you got a chance to see us.
Roll a charisma, please.
Okay, if I fail this one, it's a threat.
You do have a boon in the bank, is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm making a fail.
Ooh.
I'm making a
Okay,
fail.
because it's only a 2 + 3 5. I will retake a doom or boon or not. If he takes it as a threat, it's up to him.
Yeah, that's what he does. He looks a bit nervous, I guess, and
I won't redeem the boon. I won't redeem the boon. Up to him.
he looks a bit nervous at you, and he sort of gets up and scurries away a bit quicker, looking over his shoulders. And you hear him muttering. He's like, I hope they fix my lock. I really hope they fix my lock. I really hope they fix my lock. And as he goes, and the schnapps has been brought in, and seeing him go, you notice that the last barman there takes his leave, because there's no one else in the snug, and you have your bottle, of course, that was given to you by the manager. And he takes his leave, leaving the three of you in the snug with Tony on the balcony. And that is where we shall take our toilet break briefly, with the three of you in the snug.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
Okay. Yes. We will just take a few minutes, and we will be back very soon. Time for a quick comfort break.
Please hang around, everyone. Get comfortable, and we shall be back. Put an extra blanket on.
Get in the snug.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, because I, for one, am going to stand on the little balcony overlooking the mountains that I can see from my from my.
I'm sorry, everyone, but the music is over. I hope it finished at a good point, but I hope we can replace it with some wonderful cast of joyous gentlemen this evening. Where did we leave them? We left Rudi, Tony, and Gaston in the snug, the last remaining guest of the hotel. The reporter Julian Peters had just made his farewell and scampered off with Rudi's perceived threat ringing in his ears. Threat to his life. Leaving the barman in the snug, cleared up and gone, and the manager had left a bottle of schnapps and the glasses there. And so it's just our three friends, our two heroes and the hanger-on. And it's about getting on for 10:30 in the evening as we join them.
As after a quick sort of lean on the balcony and a check left and right into the night, just to get a vibe for the comings and goings, if there are any this late in St. Moritz.
Yeah, mountains to the right and sort of in front of you, and then to the left is down into the town. The sort of, and you're seeing that it's very dark in town now. Most of the lights are out. There's not many people wandering around. A few walking back with high spirits from nights out, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. Then I shall return back to enjoy some, snappy conversation.
My
in
dear,
the snug.
my dear Tony, please stop chasing that chimera of yours. There is none to be found here. It is simply good old friends enjoying the spiritus of the evening. I have double checked. Those working here, I suppose, are not members of some dire cult or likewise or otherwise. You can trust that the only ruffian and mischievous person in this entire hotel will be the great Bauman and none else.
Well, you say that, Rudi, but here is my problem. I can go through months at a time without a single pair of trousers being ruined. And yet, whenever something turns really dark and really bleak, trousers are ruined left, right, and center.
Do you suppose it's an omen of sorts, your trousers being ruined before something even more fouler occurs?
I don't believe in fate, but I do believe that there is a sense among people when they are like surrounded by predators. It makes them jumpy, it makes them nervous, and it makes them spill things on my trousers.
Yes, I understand where you're going with this. Interesting. So you assume merely by the fact that your trousers have been ruined that we are fated, that something more tiresome will occur.
I can only report what I know to be true. My trousers were completely ruined en masse on that train, and within hours we were fighting for our lives in order to stop the complete destruction of a beautiful city and ourselves.
I suppose Tony's trousers at this very moment are clean and unscathed. And
Visibly, they have been slightly dampened, but they're dried out now, I suspect.
then Rudi will say the following and do the following. He will lift up his glass and say, then cheers to making your own fate and dispelling curses of old. And when he proposes his glass to cheer with three of them, when they ding, he will purposely drop some of his snaps Tony's Guerrero's trousers.
Oh, could you roll an agility check for me, please, John?
That's not on purpose.
Can I make it
As-
opposed?
I tell you what, we're going to do two things then. We'll do an opposed first. So, no, actually, I'll tell you what, we're going to do Rudi roll a flat agility first because there's something I want to check first, and then
It's an ambush. It's a surprise attack.
So, John,
It is a surprise.
John, a flat agility roll for you, please. First of all, before
4 plus 2.
6. Okay, thank you. I'll bear that in mind for something in a second. And then Rudi and Tony, you can roll an opposed roll. Each roll, both add your agility, and let me know what you got.
Okay.
Should I roll again? I already
Yes, please.
rolled a 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
and roll one more time, please.
5 plus
That is a total
2.
of 3.
Total of 7.
A
So,
mighty 3.
as Rudi raises the schnapps to clink, he is in fact able. Tony spots it a bit too late. He almost gets what's going on, but too late. And Rudi is smart, and the schnapps sprays out, sprinkling over Tony's trousers liberally. But being a bit drunk himself, he also manages to get it over his trouser legs as well. So Rudi has schnapped over both their trousers.
He laughs out loud with a pompous thunderous laugh, and he hugs the two of them under his wings, because should I remind that he was a heavyweight boxer, so
A very big man, yes.
and he
Big
like
wingspan.
does this motion and grabs the two of them. And he gets both like this.
To clean trousers.
That's a terrible waste of good trousers.
No, this was an essential spell to dispel your theory of whenever your trousers get wet, something ill is about to happen. No. I bet you I will bet you place a bet. My beard. If something ill happens tonight, I will save my beard tomorrow morning.
I would be horrified for you to lose your beard, but I will take a bet of something less critical.
I'm more of a mustache man than a beard man. I have been neglecting to keep myself up to my standards as of late because of my late obsessions. But
If you are right and nothing ill befalls us for the duration of our stay, then on our last night, I will stand upon the table that we dine at and I will personally pour a glass of red wine over my trousers.
Okay, my bet was limited to tonight. I don't know with the rest of our stay
This
here.
evening, then I will do this tomorrow morning.
Okay, all right. That's a
However,
bet.
If something bad befalls us and the opportunity still presents, then tomorrow at breakfast, you will wait until we've finished eating, and then you will attempt to whip the tablecloth off the table, leaving all of the plates and everything else there.
God would gladly do so. My dear Gaston, you need to realize that there are more like inside jokes in this table. There is a culture, a tradition that needs to be honored, and also a curse that needs to be dispelled. If indeed we survive this evening without anything out of the ordinary happen, oh my good friend, you're in for a treat. You're now actually delving deep into the essence of what Mr. Otto and Guerrero's journeys are really about.
You will have to remind me as we go up to bed tonight to request my 5th best trousers, which are tan in colour and will perfectly suit the challenge.
Gentlemen, if I were not your friend, I would be sure to bring my camera to breakfast tomorrow morning. But I shall not.
You're a gentleman. You are a gentleman.
In the honor of the bet and the sport.
Now, I do have a request. I don't know St. Moritz that well, but I suspect it is something that can easily be located. There are a bunch of lunatic Englishmen who hurl themselves down a natural sort of slide in the snow and ice here.
It's the Cresta Run, isn't it?
It is. And I would very much like us to undertake that, if at all possible, while we're here.
Is that something you'd like to talk to me as the Git Master, or to
I would like to propose it to my two friends in the bar.
I was going to say.
Gaston will say, I'm all for throwing myself down a mountain, but I do not wish to undertake becoming a lunatic Englishman.
I don't believe you're required to become English in order to do it, though it's entirely possible you may have to consume a small scotch or gin or something first. I don't know their traditions.
Well, that sounds like something that sounds like a hardship I could bear for two fine friends.
Excellent. Well, I shall sit by the fire and swirl my schnapps and take a sip occasionally. I'm in no particular hurry to go to bed. Can you remind me what's on the symposium tomorrow?
Yes.
Tomorrow's Saturday, isn't it?
Yes, it's a good day. The morning is Monsieur Jean Durand is going to do a big talk on preparing for his role as Sigmund Freud in an upcoming film. And then Saturday afternoon is Dr. Norman Wellesley talking about sunlight and the human psyche.
Oh, excellent.
A mind-related day.
I agree.
To be completely frank between the two of you, I was kind of hoping that the great Bauman would have been a great indeed. You know, I think I was very open, at least between the two of you, with when it came to my obsession with the occult. So nothing would have satisfied me more if this poor trickster would have been an actual man of the occult. So to be completely frank with you, when I'm drinking today and tonight, it's not out of simple enjoyment, but it is because I'm kind of a bitter man. You should say a dark version of Rudi, because I've been obsessed with the occult, and everything that justifies it brings me joy, and anything that spells it, and that drags me deeper down to this dark road I've been following these past years. But it is, I know it is very, very rare to find the true miraculous ways. But I will not give up still. I will not give up on faith. Maybe the great Bauman have been a fake, but that doesn't mean that out there are secrets to be discovered by ourselves.
I agree. I really do, Rudy. There should be less charlatanry because the noise it makes can drown out things that are very interesting and very exciting. But Bauman, I don't see him as all that interesting and certainly not all that exciting.
Well, if I may, gentlemen, um, the thing that bothers me and perhaps makes me think that there is more interest than at first glance is, and he leans in again quite close. I was offered 100 francs, Swiss francs, nonetheless, to partake in his charade. There were two other people tonight who I can only assume were offered the same. One last night, plus, if you will, a patsy who whose reputation has been spoilt, who surely would be offered more than that to be labelled a thief, and potentially hotel staff who apprehended the thief and took him off. That's a sizable sum of Swiss francs. How much money do you think the great Bauman makes doing such a weekend such as this?
That is a very interesting question. And it makes me wonder about the value of the audience. That maybe we and our fellow speakers and people like yourself, journalists, the reports they might make of his prowess could be worth a fortune to him. Possibly.
It intrigues me. They may not have all been paid, as I believe, Monsieur Tony, you alluded to earlier, and perhaps that is his true gift, is the insight into somebody's moral worth, shall we say? But it interests me. And it makes me want to ask more questions.
De Groot, in particular, is a man of towering reputation. It's harder to believe that he would go along with such a thing. But I suppose anybody might be enticed with a little money if they happen to have run up some debt or run into some problems.
Images are easily disillusioned. Rather, character does remain honest to oneself.
Yes. It's a good point. And we will have to consider it because we have, frankly, stuck our necks out a bit, exposing Bauman and, staking our own reputations on him being rather deceitful and fraudulent. So perhaps we should pay attention. We don't want that to come back and undermine us.
As you talk, you hear a clock chime 11. By the way, I'm just keeping track of time as you're talking. 11
That's
o'clock.
cool. Well, when it comes to tomorrow, Saturday morning, and the lectures and speeches about we heard, have no real interest about participating in Jean Duran's and Sigmund Freud presentation or whatever that is. And neither am a fan of biology, so I expect my Saturday night will be sunk deep into self how we call it, exploration, say.
reflection, perhaps.
Reflection,
Yeah, reflection, yes, that's a better term. And spending time alone, drinking snaps, and scrabbling some pentagrams or other occult symbols, but rather participating that the proposed speeches that will be heard. So it actually pains me. It actually pains me that we don't have Fisher's murder issue to unsolve. You should have seen Gaston. You should have seen us at our prime when we solved murder issues left and right. Now we simply give pompous lectures about a glorious days past and what could have been, should have been, but not right now.
Anything that keeps me away from my homeland.
Come on, Tony, how to turn it political? Don't you dare to turn it political today in this era that we live on.
My friends, do not worry. I'm sure there is more fortune and glory around the corner. But if you will excuse me, I have much writing to do, and I must bid you bon nuit. Good night.
Maybe another glass before you leave. One for the road, does it say?
One short toast for the road.
Wow, I will take it.
For you, Rudi.
Will you give it or should I?
Please, be my guest.
Okay. Then, at the top of my nose, I would say, but there will be a triple toast, so we'll have to drink triple the amount.
Of course.
One for the road that is before me, one for the wisdom that has accompanied me, and one for the good friends who keep me where I should be. And then he takes a triple toast and he drinks a lot of spirits.
The road, wisdom, and friends.
Now we release you from your daily services and companies, occupations, and delegations.
It has been a pleasure. I shall see you both at breakfast in the morning, no doubt.
I may be a little bit more late than usual.
Excellent. I shall bid Gaston good night. And once he's gone and sort of no longer implicated potentially, I shall turn to Rudi and say, as Isaac Newton said, if the apple doesn't fall, you've got to go and shake the tree.
Did he really say that?
No, I doubt it. I'm tempted to go and knock on Bauman's door next to ours.
Really? I think you're trying your hardest to find something interesting, something notable, something that Gaston could actually write in one of his articles. I would suggest otherwise. Let us enjoy this moment that we're sharing here, my dear Tony, and I don't know. But I would be a liar if I wouldn't share your curiosity, enthusiasm, and daring do, if I may say.
I always love someone that pushes their glasses up their nose when someone says daring do about it.
In preparation.
I want to see the man levitate, but it won't be as effective if he shows it to me without witnesses.
We haven't really seen that part, but if we already uncovered that he's a ruffian, a trickster of sort, isn't the levitation trick will be one of his repertoire?
Absolutely, and I'm pretty sure I know how he does it, but I really must, I suppose, try to convince him to do it in front of an audience. Maybe tomorrow he'll be more receptive.
Maybe, but I think he's on to us. I think he's on to us that we're being on to him. So I think maybe we will scare him off.
Yeah, possibly. In any event, I must collect some trousers from the hotel safe.
Apologies for ruining at least tonight's selectors of trousers. But I think it
Among
was a good talk.
friends, among
It was
friends,
good
such
talk.
things are
Yeah.
trivialities.
It was worth it. Two trivialities then.
Yeah.
Post.
I still have 4 essentially functional pairs of trousers. It's fine.
What was your 4th or 5th best trousers?
These are my 4th best.
We're still in the top 5, so that's good news for tonight.
For tomorrow's demonstration, should I lose our wager, I feel a pair of tan trousers will be required. Many of my trousers are too dark to really show off a good splash of wine. So I'll have to retrieve my 5th best from the hotel safe.
But Tony, please do listen to me right now.
I'm a man of my word, Rudi.
However dull our evening might have been, however non-eventful, listen to me when I say that I honestly am glad that there have been no murders and no ill fortunes struck upon us tonight.
Absolutely.
I really do value that because we have seen things, we have experienced things, and the loss of life is always something tragic. I'm glad we're not experiencing that. Even on our most boring speeches and our most uneventful nights, we should always value the life and the life around us, the life force of everyone around.
And you're right. It is reassuring that the soundtrack for this particular trip hasn't been screaming steam engines or the rattle of machine guns. So far, it's been much more quiet.
So far, yes, that's a key element to this.
Yeah.
All right.
However, I would point out, I am told avalanches are very noisy.
Rudi gets up, takes a huge, I won't do that, but a huge sip from his spiritus. He snaps until it's over and says, so cheers to tonight and a gladfully uneventful tonight. And maybe he wavers a bit of left and right because he's unbalanced. Maybe he drops his chair and he picks it up. I don't know. He makes a move and there's, okay, I sincerely hope tomorrow will be as uneventful as tonight will be, as the night was.
Excellent.
Good night, my dear Tony. I will be, maybe he sounds a bit more. I will be heading to my quarters and writing off my journal. My writing are scribbles and I want to fall asleep. He hugs him a bit awkwardly, burps, coughs, and then he heads off to sleep.
Okay. I will bid Rudi a fond good night. Pour myself a fresh glass of schnapps from our bottle. step out onto
That is
the.
very much the end of the bottle.
Okay, step out onto the little balcony beside the snug, and smoke a cigarette for a few minutes while I finish the schnapps. Just catching some night air, and then I shall wander back in. Put the glass down next to the empty bottle, and make my way back to the front desk through the sort of connecting corridor rather than going via the dining hall.
Okay. As you're sort of finishing up in the snug, we're going to just jump over to Gaston, for his evening is not finished. We don't know what Gaston has done yet. It might be, but you and
I'm very glad you said that, Luke, because as Gaston leaves, he too visits the front desks. Good evening, good night.
there is a tired looking lady on the front desk. She very much does the evening. She sort of says goodbye to the visiting sort of the dinner guests, and she's sort of clearing up the space, looking to sort of shut down the reception for the evening. She's already sort of locked the door, and she stood behind. She looks up and she says, "Yes, Mr. Delarue."
Please, if you may, is Philip still around on shift? May I?
I'm afraid Sir Philip will have gone to his room by now. The dining hall has been cleared and prepared for tomorrow, and he is not on the kitchen clean down shift this evening. But I believe he's back on shift for breakfast, sir.
He'll look for a name badge on the person behind the desk.
Her name is Sylvie, Sylvie.
Sylvie. He'll say, "Well, Sylvie," and he'll turn on his thickest French accent. Could you please ensure Philip lent me his coat? Could you please ensure that he gets this back?
Of course, sir. Of course, sir. It's his favourite coat. He must have really taken to you to lend it to you.
We certainly connected over some interesting things.
Okay. No more said, sir. No more said. Between you and
he'll lean in very close to the desk, and he'll say, "Sylvie, I need a favor."
She sort of looks across at the clock at the time, which, as you left, is sort of like sort of 11:10. And she looks back at you and says, "It depends what it is. It is rather late now."
It's indeed, it's not a favor for tonight. Do not worry. It's a favor for the morning. My no doubt you're aware of who's paying for my room and my journalist status. We'll flash something quickly out of his pocket and put it back in. My colleague Julian Peters is expecting a phone call tomorrow morning. I would very much appreciate if whoever is on the front desk could also wire it through to my room, and he'll slide over some Swiss francs on the desk and tap gently.
Roll a charisma, but with your chat of all trades.
Oh, Luke, thanks.
Your schmooze roll.
That's a 5 plus 5 is a 10.
She takes the francs, slides them across, and she says, I will do what I can, sir. I'm not supposed to be on duty tomorrow morning, but I'm willing to get up early for this. She sort of taps her pocket where she's put the bribe. I'm willing to get up early for this, sir, and do what I can. I can't promise anything, but I will do my best, and if I let you down, I shall return. I shall return this.
Sylvie, it is yours to keep regardless. You are a beautiful person. It is greatly appreciated. And if
Roll your
and if this
charisma.
all works out,
Roll your charisma. Roll your charisma.
if this all works out, I'll owe you dinner. That's a 4. That's 5.
She sort of blushes. She blushes a bit at this. She says, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Della Rude. You're so kind. Dinner. It's highly. I've never been asked before, sir. Oh, oh, sir. Oh, sir. And she sort of blushes up a bit at that.
It would be my honour. Bon nuit, and he'll scurry off to his room.
It is but 5 minutes later that Tony Guerrero enters as she's sort of fanning herself cool again, and is locking up the last bits, the last couple of desks with paperwork in, has shut down sort of everything needed, and she's just sort of like grabbing her like cardigan, ready to head up to her room as you get there, Tony.
I will walk over and say, madame, a moment of your time, please.
You'll understand, Monsieur Guerrero, that it will be only a moment of my time at this time of night.
Of course. Apologies for the lateness of the hour. I just need to retrieve something from the hotel safe.
I'm afraid, sir, that it is not hotel policy to allow retrieval of items from the safe after 11 o'clock, sir.
Well, that's inconvenient. It is my policy to allow such things.
I'm sure it is, sir. It's a management decision, sir. I apologise. You do understand. I literally do not have the key after 11 o'clock, sir.
Ah, excellent. Who does?
Her fricker, sir, but he's very strict on policy, sir. It will open again at 6 o'clock in the morning, sir.
6 in the morning. Well, I suppose it will have to wait until 6 in the morning then.
I'm very sorry, sir. I'm very sorry. I don't make the policies, sir.
No, I understand completely. I'm surprised to learn there's a 6 in the morning, but I'll attempt to aim for somewhere near that.
It's okay, sir.
Excellent.
It doesn't shut 1 minute past 6, sir. You can have it any time between 6 and 11.
Yes. Just alarmed that there's a 6 in the morning. I don't think I've ever seen it. Anyway, right. I will make an attempt tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I will bid you a good night.
Good night, sir. Sleep well. Pleasant dreams.
And I shall make my way upstairs and head to bed.
As you get into bed, you see Rudi is laid out, taking up 3/4 of the bed and already snoring heavily. One of his notebooks is on the writing desk with a half-drawn pentagram that he sort of started before, and some nonsense writing that obviously he thought was really good notes, but is scribbled before he's sort of given out and crashed into the bed and taken up most of it, snoring away.
Excellent.
I don't care so much.
I will, prepare for bed and then climb into bed alongside him.
If you want the duvet, you've got to like the sheets and not duvets. Then the sheets and the blankets, you have to sort of like pull him out from under him because he's just fallen asleep, fully clothed, just totally on top of all the bedclothes.
I will try to be gentle in doing so, but yes, I will extract enough for me to have a comfortable night.
I guess Rudi won't be waking up. Whatever you do.
Yeah, well, whatever happens, yeah.
He will keep snoring.
It takes you a little while, Tony, and a few nudges, but you are able to get to sleep after about 40 minutes or so of a bit of thinking, a bit of nudging, a bit of trying to cover your ears. Gaston, did you go to bed as well? Just so I know where we're at.
Gaston, would have gone back and straight to bed. It's quite late. It's been an hour since Peter's went to bed. He's got to be up early for a phone call. So
that is true. And
people do the same.
So the evening ends around. So judging by that, by the time Tony's asleep, the evening would end just after midnight. And in fact, Tony's gone to bed. he's very, very thematic then.
Bye, Tony.
In that very second.
Yeah.
He talks in his sleep, though.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And the last thing Tony and Gaston hear is the heavying snow outside. It's very comforting. It's very relaxing. And it's beautiful. Which makes it a bit confusing when, as he's sleeping, Gaston hears a banging at his window. Gaston, of course, on the ground floor. The others are on the first floor. And there's first a banging, and then a sort of a longer, slightly harder banging, and then even longer, and a slight scraping against the window, which is enough to rouse you, Gaston. But the snow, you can still sort of hear the snow above it.
Gaston will look at. I assume is there a clock in the room? I'll turn on.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
He'll rub his head a little bit and jump out of bed and he'll look around for the sound and go to the window.
Kelly Walls, if the couple next to you were having sex, for example, you would hear the banging of the bed against the side. You'd hear an argument, and you would hear full conversation. You'd sort of hear if your ear was against the wall, but you don't hear everything. Okay, Gaston, you go over to the window. Are you just pulling open the curtains, or?
He'll go to the. I assume the curtains meet in the middle.
Yes.
He'll go to the corner of the curtains and he'll peek sort of at an angle through to try and get an idea, I suppose, before he pulls them open. He's no Rudi.
Oh, he's not brave.
There's no aha moment.
Yes, Rudi would be much more inappropriate.
In fact, you open it and it is Rudi. Aha! As you look through the corner, you only get sort of a thing angle if you're trying not to get spotted. And you sort of, when you hear banging again and scraping, you do see a shadow that looks like it could be a hand reaching forwards.
He won't open the curtains, but he'll slide out in front of them. So he's between the curtain and the window.
Oh. As you sort of slide in between, you see a figure. They're quite shadowy because it's dark, of course, and they're sort of blurred a bit by the snow. But as you squint and they sort of lean in closer, it is the face of Dr. Pieter de Groot.
Really?
Who is staring quite wide-eyed at you, Gaston, through the window, and then points at you.
Gaston shrugs and looks back at de Groot, and tries to communicate through the window. Doctor, do you know what time it is?
You can sort of see him. He's shivering a little. He's in. He appears to be in his bed clothes, but with his coat over the top. He leans in close to the window, so you can not that way. That way. So he pushes his nose up against it, and you can see his eyes. His face is tired, but his eyes are wide. He looks like he's not slept a wink, and he's sort of a bit crazed. And he says to you, "You have the curse too, Monsieur Delarue. The man, he cursed you. He put his words into your mind, did he not? You're just like me. You're the only one I can talk to."
Gaston, still a bit weary, I suppose, from being woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning. It takes a little while to respond, and then says, "Come." Yes, of course. Come round to my room. We can speak.
"I can't speak inside. Come out. We must speak outside. There is much evil. Come out. It's safe out here. It's safe out here. I feel it. It's safe."
Do the windows open?
The windows do open.
He leans and he says, "Let me get my warmer clothes," and he'll duck back beyond the curtain, and very quickly rush over to the telephone. I assume I can ring between rooms, but you may.
Yes. Yeah. There's number. There's a little There's sort of an external number which you'd know about. There's an external number to dial out, or just a number which will dial between certain rooms. Yeah.
And he'll dial over to Tony and Rudi.
I think by now Rudi will be in between his second and third dream.
The good ones.
And snoring ecophantically. Poor Tony that he has to survive this snoring.
So do I hear the telephone ring?
Yeah, you can hear the telephone ring. There's no reason not to. Your sleep has been quite broken. Let's put it this way tonight. You've not been sleeping very well so far.
Rudi won't be hearing it. I bet you.
Yeah, he definitely isn't. But Tony can hear it if you want. He's not too far out of it.
Yeah, I will pick up the phone.
Hello, Tony, Rudi. There's my apologies for the hour of the call, but Dr. de Groot is outside the window. He's outside my window. I'm going out to meet him. He's speaking of curses, and it felt like something certainly Rudi would be interested in. Potentially both of you.
I mean, I suspect Rudi would be interested in it, but I also suspect that rousing him might take dynamite. So how about I come down and at least find out what it's about and find out if it's worth trying to wake him?
Indeed, Monsieur Tony, whatever you feel is best. I'll be outside speaking to him. He doesn't want to come in.
Okay. I will take a piece of the. I assume there's a notepad or something in the hotel room.
Yeah, for taking notes next to the phone. Yeah.
I will write a short note to Rudi explaining that I've gone downstairs to meet someone outside in the snow and the cold for no adequately explored reason.
A message to you, Rudi.
And if he wakes and is curious to come and join me, but I may come back and wake him up, at which point the note will become redundant, so don't bother to read it.
Well, if the GM allows it, I suppose by the time you leave the note next to him, he will be sleep talking, like sleepwalking, but talking something in Latin, like like Exodium Temporis Christianus, something like it. So I guess you won't be joining unless I can roll for that. But I don't really mind rolling for that. I'm in character right now, so I think he won't be waking up at this very moment. He has a lot of snaps this evening.
That is true, yeah.
Mm.
Within character, I think it would be fair that he didn't wake up, I suppose. Yeah.
I think so as well.
Gaston will totally grab a coat. He'll grab his key to his room just in case he gets locked out. And a pad and paper, I suppose, and then run back to the window and open it up and jump out.
Okay, roll an agility for me, please, Gaston.
With chat of all trades.
No.
It's a 3 + 4 is a 7.
Okay, as you jump out, your foot trips slightly on the edge of the window, and you land in a uncomfortably, sort of like almost head first. But you're lucky enough that you've landed in quite a big snowbank, so it's clumsy and sprawling, but you're not too badly injured. And as you pull yourself up, the snow is already sort of up between calf and knee, so it's definitely quite high.
He'll dust himself off. Say, please, doctor. What brings you to my window at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Mr. Delarue, there is screaming in my brain. Did you not feel it too when the man spoke to you, when he put this curse upon us?
Tell me, friend, what words did he say to you?
There's evil, sir. There is evil among us and around us. I feel it inside me, sir. I feel it inside of me.
And this is what the and he'll sort of roll his eyes. This is what the great bowman told you.
I remember not his exact words. It was like speaking to my soul, sir.
Well, let me look around and just make sure they're sort of alone, I suppose. Let me rest. Put your soul at ease. He spoke to my wallet, sir.
He's sort of looking down, shaking his head, and he says, "You're the only one that understands. Come with me, sir. Come with me. We must to the Carlton, sir. It's where I feel I've been called. Come with me. You're the only one who knows, sir."
How out of character, Luke? How far is it to the Carlton?
Oh, in those sort of conditions as well, it's going to be a good 20-minute walk.
Okay, but and what direction are we talking? Are we talking
out
to the
of
main
town.
road and up, or are we talking away from the hotel into the wilderness? Because that won't be happening as far as Gaston is concerned.
So the way that
given the situation,
so the way that St. Moritz is working is that as you've dropped out of your room, which is room number 5, of course, you'd come round to the front where the reception door is, which is on the main road. and then upwards on the picture, so to the right, as you would be, so upwards would be into town, and then downwards to the bottom of the picture, you head out of town. And there's sort of a couple of twisty turny double backs that go up the hill towards the Carlton, which is quite famously on like a double back up a hill out of town. So it will be on the main road, and he's already sort of like heading for the road as opposed to the mountains.
At this point, Gaston will be trying. He'll agree. He'll go along with it, but he will be trying to slow him down so as we don't lose anybody. Well, we don't lose Tony. Potentially Tony and Rudi in Gaston's mind, but yeah. So he'll be walking purposefully slow. And why are we drawn to the hotel?
The words in my head, sir, tell me we must go.
Which words?
Evil.
And you wish to run towards evil?
I'm drawn there. I have a purpose, but I know not yet what it is. And he sort of starts pulling at you to try and trudge up there faster. The road is that's calf deep, already, and the snow's coming down, and you're only 20 meters up there, and already the petit grand behind you is hard to see in the dark and the snow.
Gaston will grab him by the shoulders and they'll pull him in close and they'll shake him a little bit and say, listen to me, man. If you're being drawn towards evil, let's at least take our time getting there. For every second of life is precious.
But I thought you understood. He spoke to you.
I do understand, but there is no.
Is it not screaming in your head? Is it not unbearable, the noise?
It is, but we must withstand it in order to enact our lives as fruitfully as we can.
Tony, as this is going on, what is your approach as you are up and about?
I'm going to head downstairs and then out through the front door, which I know is kind of on the side compared to the direction they were heading.
Yes, the front door is locked.
Locked. That's inconvenient.
It's 3:00 in the morning. Oh, it's locked. The reception is nearby, and
Is the reception manned?
No, it's all empty now.
Then, so yes, I will ask at reception.
There's no one there. Sorry, there's no one at reception. It's 3 in the morning. It's all they've shut down for the night.
This is going to be a problem if there's a fire.
Let's hope there's not a fire. It's 1930s. Fire regulations that just don't exist.
I will try to open the door to the outside bar then.
Okay, roll a. Are you trying to like caress it or like sheer beef it?
I'm going to be reasonably firm.
Okay. Could you please roll a strength, please? I'll give you an engineering because it's the use of doors.
Okay. My engineering is 2, and I have strength of 2 as well, so it's +4. So total of 8.
You sort of heave it in and put it in. There's a bit of give. It's sort of locked, but not in such a strong manner. And there's another heave, and there's sort of a slight cracking and splintering, and it swings open a bit easier than you might have expected. But you're out there on the outside bar.
Okay, then in that case, I will walk to the sort of western edge of it, the left-hand edge, and hop over and down onto the ground outside.
Okay. You land again. Could you roll? Actually, no. You can see it's close. I'm not going to make you roll it. You can see what you're jumping into. You know it's quite snowy, and you land up to your knees, and as you look around, you can just about catch what might be the silhouettes of two figures to your left, heading upwards on the road towards the Carlton.
Okay. I will set off in pursuit.
Okay.
With some speed if I can manage it.
Okie dokie. Could you roll an agility for me, please?
I mean, I can. You sure you don't want it to be education?
No, I'll give you daring do though. If you're setting off in exciting ways in the snow, I'll give you that much.
Daring do. Okay,
No
so
prize.
yeah, so I'll get that's a +1 to my +1. So, total of
That's good. That's double.
Yeah, it makes 8 possible.
That's a total of 3.
You set out
Double.
you set out into the snowy night, but the snow is thick afoot. You're still sort of not as awake as you'd like to be, and as you're sort of stepping out onto
Who
the
is?
road, you're sort of exactly. It's almost like every step you're almost like misjudging the snow, so you're sort of trying to put your weight a little bit too high or too far low, and you can't quite get a rhythm. And it seems that as you're trying to draw close to these two figures, they're almost moving away in the darkness, because Gaston, as you're sort of trying to pull on him, there's a sort of a strength to the man who's sort of like pushing you back, and there's sort of the wind's howling and the snow is coming down strongly now. He manages to sort of push himself slightly free from you, and he sort of makes a break for the Carlton. It's still a long way off, but he starts to try and run. He's not just roll. Yeah, he's not at full speed. He's sort of staggering a bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to get away from you, Gaston.
No, stop! And Gaston will, I suppose, frantically try to pursue and stop him, or at least hold him up as best he can. He'll dive at his feet, we'll say.
Okay, roll an agility for me, please.
Oh, that's a 1. +4 is a 5. Put that out there.
Like you sort of make a sort of a desperate lunge at his feet, and but you sort of can't quite make it. He sort of kicks free, and you sort of sent sprawling into the snow, like an ice breaking ship with your nose sort of pushing sort of a nice triangle out behind you from the snow. And as you sort of stagger up onto your knees, you can see his sort of shadow sort of fading out as he sort of charges up the slope. And it's the first moment you sort of lose track of him. And as you're sort of clambering up, Tony reaches your shoulder at this point.
I miss you, Tony, and he'll point off in the direction of the shadow, or where he last saw the doctor. He says he's drawn to the Carlton.
Why, is the
Screaming
bar
in his
open?
mind. Something about the words that the great
Bauman.
that's the one. The great Bauman said to him, calls to him. The Carlton screams in his brain.
We are aware, are we not, that Bauman told him to seek out evil. So if he is drawn to evil and the Carlton is full of evil, it is best that the two of us, slightly drunk, on our own, unarmed, and in the middle of the night, stagger towards it helplessly.
I would argue that it is best that you drunkenly stagger towards it, and I retrieve. He looks around. I retrieve Rudi, our boxer friend.
You feel that that's the most efficient way round?
Well, I feel it's a way round.
It is a way round, I grant you. I fear we may have stumbled into one of the limitations of your chosen career. That you plan to more document than participate.
The man seemed incensed. He was. I can't explain it. He was. He was out of his mind.
Well, clearly, I must race to the Carlton because we are completely out of schnapps. So they may have some, and if not that, and there is something more important there, possibly brandy. But we cannot turn our back on someone clearly desperate for help. We must pursue. If you are returning to our hotel for the evening, then if you are returning to collect Rudi, there are a few important things to understand. First of all, he sometimes sleep punches. He relives his greatest victories while asleep, and he doesn't mind being startled awake, but can very, very briefly become extremely agitated and violent while he regains his perception. He is a very large gentleman, so moving him by main force will be unlikely. But if you do need to wake him up in a hurry, he wakes up rapidly if his feet become too cold. So if you can find something like a handful of snow and press it against his feet, he will wake up very rapidly. I promise you.
Gaston looks at you somewhat worried, I suppose, and then says, "Understood. We'll call him from the Carlton reception." And then
or you could try that.
Run.
Yes, obviously you could try that. I like your lateral thinking.
It seems the safer option, given the choices.
Very well. We're in room. We're in room number 1.
Indeed. And he'll stand up and nod to Tony and start running towards in the direction of
and
which
I shall sprint off towards the Carlton, please.
Okay. Tony, as you head up, you sort of see the sort of the footprints pushed in, sort of up to sort of the calf, and you're sort of following them up. You lose track of where you are. You're in a whiteout. You don't know. You almost don't know what's down or what's up, what's left or what right. All you know is that the footprints are ahead of you. You keep following them, and making good speed. You get, you couldn't tell, 50 meters, 100 meters, 4 miles. Distance loses it at this point. Your heart is racing, beating hard, and finally you see the shadow in front of you. And as you're moving closer, the shadow stops, and it is Dr. Pieter de Groot, who's collapsed on his knees, breathing heavily, sort of sobbing. And he sort of turns to you with his big wide eyes. He's like, "You're not Mr. Delarue. You don't understand. You don't understand."
I would like to.
This is the evil in my head, and I can't get rid of it in that place.
You can't get rid of it in the hotel.
I have to get up to the Carlton. I can't get it out. Mr.
Well,
Delarue knows. He knows.
I believe you, and he will be joining us. But I do have a quick question, because if you need to get to the Carlton, I'm going to suggest that, given it is snowing quite heavily, making your way on your knees will probably slow you down quite a lot. Perhaps if you were to, stand up again.
Could you please roll for me a charisma check, please?
Yes. That's a total of 6.
Okay. He sort of stares at you suspiciously, his eyes wide. He says, "What? It will make no difference. Feet, knees, it. You don't understand." And at this point, we briefly cut back to Gaston as he's sort of rushing back through, and he clambers up into his to his window, clambers into his room, and as he jumps into his room, suddenly, as soon as his feet land, for him, suddenly everything goes black, totally black. And in front of you, Tony, Dr. Pieter de Groot pulls out a kitchen knife and stares wildly at you, and he's like, "You don't understand. The evil will not come out." And he takes the knife and slices it across his throat, and blood sprays out across the snow, and he collapses forwards. And that's where we're ending for the evening.
Oh my God!
My trousers!
Oh, no blood. That's your pajamas.
Blaster everywhere.
This blood, not the wine that we're in the covers.
God
You'll
damn
never
it!
get the blood out of it. That's worse.
Oh, brutal.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
right.
you, everybody.
That's where we're finishing. Oh. Thank you, John, Ben, and Ewan, for that. Much appreciated.
Luke, Ewan, Ben, I really, really loved it. But it's so fucking late here.
No, no.
I'm really sorry.
Yes, I know it is. John, you've been a trooper
tonight.
tonight, sticking around so late.
Yeah, you're a legend.
A true legend.
I did everything I could. Really.
I can't even imagine.
Everything. I gave you everything.
You gave us some of the best sleep role playing there's ever been.
The Latin sleep talking
Latin
is.
sleep talking.
Oh,
Thank you,
so
Kenny.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, guys.
good.
Let's finish up. Let's let John get to bed.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Good call. Good
And
call.
we'll see you all soon. Have a nice night.
I wish I had a couple more hours in me, but I really think I don't.
It's
Honestly.
wonderful, and I always leave them wanting a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. That's the hope. Right. Good night.
Cheers to the next one then.
Cheers.
Finish off my tipper over tonight.
Yeah. Good night, John. Thank
Good
you.
night. You take
Thank you
care.
for everything.
Good
And
night,
thank
everybody.
you, Luke. That was
Love you all.
enormous.
Boys from the Baltic Star. Let's go. Love y'all.
See you later. Take care. See you later, everyone. Good night.
Kelly and everyone else, thank you so much for watching me. I loved it. Good night.
Good night. Bye, everyone.
Cheers, boys.
See ya.
Good night.
Thanks, John. It's been a pleasure.